Welcome, the new video. In this recap, a giant mutant fish is slaughtering everyone in a remote swamp. But the terrifying truth is even worse. There isn't just one monster. There are hundreds waiting to hatch. In the Alabama region of the United States, a fisherman named John Crankton crosses the swamp in search of fish. After catching a few with his net, he is about to return home when he sees a large bait floating in the water and tries to catch it. However, as he reaches out his hand, the bait sinks and then comes back up again, as if something were pulling it down. The man is confused and tries to grab the bait again, but as he does so, he is pulled into the water. Seconds later, John manages to return to the surface, but his arm is injured, indicating that he was attacked by a marine predator. The man does his best to get back to the boat, but is pulled back in, leaving a trail of blood in the swamp. The next day, in a nearby town, medical examiner Sam Rivers is with the police, looking for clues to find the culprit who killed a young woman. After completing the investigation, he is sent to Alabama to investigate an even more frightening case of an attack in the swamp. Having grown up in that region, Sam agrees to go, and after hours on the road, he meets the local sheriff, who shows him the body of John Crankton. The police found what was left of his body floating in the water and believe that the fisherman was attacked by an alligator. However, Sam does not believe this, as the bite marks indicate that it was a much larger and more aggressive animal. Intrigued by this case, the coroner decides to investigate the swamp and asks for the help of Dr. Mary Callahan, a biologist from the city. At dawn, the two set off by boat to the swamp, and Sam shows Mary the photos of John's body. Given the severity of the injuries, the biologist believes that only a large fish, such as a bull shark, would have such a powerful bite. The pair then continue across the lake until they find a crocodile lying in the middle of the plantation. As they approach, they realize that the animal is dead, with only its head remaining, while the rest of its body has been destroyed. This only makes everything even more suspicious, but Sam suggests moving on, as there is still a long way to go to the crime scene. Minutes later, they meet another fisherman named Elmer and ask him if he knows where John Crankton's house is. The man then takes them to a community near the swamp, where John's wife Gloria and their daughter Eliza live. The young woman, along with her boyfriend Dan, is trying to convince her mother to move house, but she refuses, as she wants to find out what killed John. Sam and Mary then introduce themselves, saying they were sent by the police to investigate what happened. Gloria then says that, as a connoisseur of the mystical arts, she discovered the existence of a curse on the swamp, which came after a powerful hurricane brought an unknown boat to the site. Since then, fish have become scarce, and strange things have happened, but Gloria managed to create a protective circle around the community. Unfortunately, her husband did not believe in such things and left to go fishing, but never returned. After telling them everything, Gloria asks Sam and Mary to investigate the boat and gives them a protective amulet. Although neither of them believes in such things, they accept the gift, and Elmer decides to accompany them to the location of the boat. The trio then continues their journey, and as soon as they find the vessel, Elmer says that the boat has been there for at least 3 months. Because of the stories about the curse, Elmer prefers not to go inside, while Sam and Mary go to investigate the boat more thoroughly. Inside, they find traces of the former crew, and Sam tries to start the boat's engine, but it doesn't work. However, unbeknownst to him, a device has been activated, as if it were some kind of signal. After that, the pair continue to investigate the boat, but when they open the door to the inner compartment, they smell something rotten. The place is completely dark, and Sam uses a camera with a flash to see what's there, but to his horror, he finds the bodies of the crew on the boat. The injuries are similar to those of the fisherman John, and Mary can't bear to see it all and runs to the deck, feeling sick. As soon as she catches her breath, Sam goes to talk to Mary, showing her an object he found next to the bodies. The biologist says it's a fish scale, but one of a size never seen before. With the whole situation becoming more suspicious, the two decide to return to the community, but Mary is still feeling sick, and as she is about to climb into the boat, she ends up knocking Elmer into the water. The fisherman says he's fine, and Sam tries to pull him back, but before he can, a sea monster appears and attacks him with a bite. Sam quickly pulls out his gun and tries to aim at the creature, but it's too late, and he sees Elmer's body being pulled away, leaving a trail of blood. Mary is frightened and asks what that was, but Sam has no idea and speeds the boat back to the community. Once there, they go to talk to Gloria, who asks where Elmer is, but unfortunately, Sam and Mary bring bad news. Meanwhile, elsewhere in town, Anton, the leader of a group that transports illegal cargo, receives the signal coming from the boat in the swamp. As soon as he finds its location, he contacts his employer, a businessman named Jeff, He informs him that they have finally found the lost merchandise and promises to recover it as soon as possible. However, after the failed delivery, Jeff decides to retrieve it himself, but Anton advises him not to do so, as the swamp is known to be home to wild animals. However, Jeff replies that there is nothing more dangerous than his merchandise, and he needs to recover it at all costs. Back in the community, Sam and Mary talk about the incident with Elmer, and that there is some kind of sea monster living in the swamp. As expected, some of the residents don't believe this story, but Gloria suspects that this monster is what killed her husband. In any case, Sam and Mary think it's best to go to the city at dawn to ask for reinforcements. Meanwhile, Anton goes to meet Jeff, who is finishing preparing an airboat to recover his merchandise. The guy insists that this is not a good idea, but Jeff is determined to find the creature, and to do so, he has hired Joseph, another experienced hunter. Anton then decides to go with them, and the group sets off on a hunt in the swamp. When night falls, Sam and Mary go to rest at Gloria's house, who prepares dinner for everyone with ingredients gathered from the swamp. The meal reminds Sam of the food his mother used to make when he was a child, when he came home from school. Eliza says she also studied at the same place and recognizes Sam as one of the players on the basketball team. Upon hearing this, Gloria reveals that Sam was the boy Eliza had a crush on years ago, which makes Dan very uncomfortable. He and Eliza leave the table and begin to argue, while Gloria invites Sam to have tea, hoping that her daughter will find another boyfriend. Meanwhile, the couple next door, Bobby and Roland, are relaxing on the porch when they hear a strange noise in the water. Roland goes to see what it is, but in a surprise attack, the monster jumps out of the lake and devours the man's head. Bobby screams in despair and everyone goes to see what happened, when they find Roland's headless body. His wife says that something from the water attacked him, and suspecting it to be the monster from the boat, Sam tells Bobby to hide inside the house. However, the deranged woman says she is leaving the community and climbs into the motorboat to escape. But the boat begins to be pulled away, and Sam tries to aim at the monster, but cannot see it in the dark. Suddenly, the boat stops in the water, and Bobby tries to see around her, but there is nothing nearby. Seconds later, the monster collides with the boat and knocks Bobby into the river, with the young woman swimming as fast as she can back to the surface. At that moment, a huge fin begins to cross the river and quickly advances toward Bobby. Luckily, Ricardo, a close friend of fisherman John, grabs a shotgun and shoots at the monster, causing it to retreat. Thanks to this, Sam is also able to aim at the target and fires several shots, causing the creature to bleed and move away. Mary then seizes the opportunity and tells Bobby to swim toward her, but just as she is about to make it, the monster leaps out of the water and drags Bobby to the bottom of the lake. With this latest attack, Sam suggests that everyone flee the community as soon as possible, as it is not safe to stay near the water. He then asks Dan to take them in his boat, but when he tries to start the engine, the monster attacks again and capsizes the boat, causing it to sink. Sam tries to start another boat nearby, but the creature does the same thing, leaving its prey with no chance of escape. Now, all that remains is to face the creature, and Sam asks everyone for help in gathering weapons and equipment from their homes. However, Gloria remembers that Bobby and Roland's house is actually a motorboat, and they can use it to escape the swamp. But the only way to reach the house is to swim, and the fish continue to surround the community, looking for more food. Luckily, the residents have created a structure with rope and pulleys to transport equipment between them using a bucket. Eliza then offers to make the crossing on top of the bucket, as she used to play with it as a child. Despite the risks, Sam helps her climb up, and Eliza begins to cross, hoping the rope will hold her weight. She is almost there, but the rope breaks and the noise attracts the monster's attention, which swims in her direction. Eliza does her best to climb onto the roof of the house with the rope, but seconds later, the creature jumps out of the water and tries to bite her. In a matter of seconds, Sam manages to stop it by firing his gun at the monster, forcing it back into the water. With the path clear, Eliza manages to climb onto the roof and goes to the boat's control panel. Unfortunately for everyone, the engine is not working and there are no other boats they can use to escape. The group is running out of options, but Ricardo decides to take matters into his own hands and goes to collect equipment from his house. In addition to his shotgun and a machete, he grabs a huge fish and ties it with an iron chain. Finally, he drops the fish into the water, and in a few seconds, the monster jumps toward Ricardo and tries to devour him. The fisherman ends up hurting his leg, but he takes advantage of the fact that the monster is out of the water and aims his shotgun inside the creature's mouth, blowing its head off. Finally, the swamp creature is defeated, and to celebrate, Ricardo removes its heart and leaves it to roast on the barbecue. As soon as it is ready, the fisherman tells everyone that he has avenged the death of his friend John and takes a bite of the monster's flesh. What he didn't count on was that there was another creature in the swamp, which jumps out of the water and attacks Ricardo, knocking the grill to the ground. Without his weapons, Ricardo tries to defend himself from the monster, but it begins to devour his belly, and then drags another body into the water. Sam and the others are terrified by what happened and suspect that there are even more monsters scattered throughout the swamp. As if that weren't bad enough, Mary believes that the creature can breathe outside of water, indicating that it is some kind of genetically modified animal. Now there are only 5 survivors left in the group, and Eliza, frightened by what happened to Ricardo, goes to the bathroom to clean herself up. Because of Sam's shots at the monster, its blood splattered on her clothes, and she washes everything with tap water. However, the blood ends up draining back into the swamp, which attracts the creature back. As soon as she finishes cleaning herself up, Eliza leaves the bathroom, but the monster breaks through the wall and tries to bite her. The young woman manages to escape, but the creature follows her out of the house and collects what's left of Roland's body. With Eliza safe on the roof, Mary tries to come up with a plan and suggests going to Ricardo's house, as there may be more weapons there. However, as she approaches the location, the fallen barbecue grill begins to spread fire across the floor until it reaches Ricardo's shotgun. Because of this, the fire ignites the gunpowder, and the shotgun fires on its own, hitting Mary in the eye. She falls to the floor, already lifeless. Sam runs to his colleague, but there is nothing more to be done, and he places a cloth over her body, mourning Mary's death. However, more problems arise when the fire continues to spread and reaches the gas cylinder, which is thrown by the explosion into Roland's house. It doesn't take long for the place to go up in flames, and Eliza runs desperately, trying to get out of there. However, the flames cause the boat's engine to explode, and the young woman is thrown by the impact, falling straight into the water. With no time to lose, Sam jumps into the lake and swims as fast as he can toward Eliza, who managed to survive the explosion. He then starts swimming back, but the monster returns once again and advances toward the two. To save them, Gloria stabs her hand with a knife and splatters blood in the water, trying to attract the creature. The plan works and the monster changes direction, giving Sam and Eliza a chance to escape the swamp. However, the creature jumps out of the water and begins to chase Gloria, who runs toward the roof with Dan. He tries to pull her up, but the monster is faster and devours half of Gloria's body, who loses her life in front of Dan. Eliza cries when she sees her mother become another victim, but Sam helps her up and says they both need to get to high ground as soon as possible. They then head to a taller structure in the community, while Dan is left isolated on top of Gloria's house. The 3 are safe for now, but it doesn't take long for the creature to start crashing into the bottom of the house. With that, it begins to make holes in the structure, and little by little, the house begins to sink. Dan despairs, but Sam tells him to stay calm and takes advantage of the monster's distraction to look for weapons in Ricardo's house. Upon entering, the place is also sinking, but Sam manages to find a flare and takes it, since his gun is unloaded. Finally, the monster stops attacking, and the 3 decide to rest a little, hoping to survive the rest of the night. After a few hours, Dan wakes up to the sound of an engine and sees the group approaching the site with the airboat. He calls for help, and Sam warns the group to be careful, as there is a sea monster nearby. However, before they can do anything, the creature attacks first, knocking the madman off the boat and into the water. With the monster on the loose, Anton, Jeff, and Joseph begin swimming toward the houses, while the pilot tries to return to the boat. Unfortunately for him, the monster reaches him first and jumps out of the water, pushing the pilot straight into the airboat's engine, destroying his body. Despite this, he managed to delay the fish long enough, and Joseph swims towards Sam and Eliza, while Anton and Jeff go to where Dan is. Out of the water, Jeff asks how many monsters they found, and Sam asks how he knows about it. The man then reveals that the creatures are snakehead fish that have been genetically modified and named Frankenfish. Sam demands more details, and Jeff replies that they were ordered from a genetic laboratory. As a hunting enthusiast, Jeff was seeking a completely new challenge when he discovered the creation of modified animals. He then paid a fortune for the laboratory to develop the most dangerous predator possible, and as soon as they were ready, the animals were shipped by sea. However, 3 months ago, the creature managed to escape from the boat, killing the entire crew and living in the swamp. Now, Jeff intends to complete his hunt and orders Anton and Joseph to prepare for when the monster appears. Everyone watches for any movement in the water until they see the Frankenfish's fin crossing the lake. Jeff then points his gun and shoots tranquilizer darts at the monster, enough to knock out a rhinoceros. Now all that remains is to wait, but minutes pass, and there is no sign of the creature anywhere. Anton then suggests returning to the boat and leaving, but at that moment, the Frankenfish leaps out of the water and devours him in one bite. Jeff shoots the monster once more, and Sam helps him by firing the flare at the Frankenfish. The creature manages to escape, but the flare gets stuck in its scales, and now they can find it more easily. Now that the creature is wounded, Jeff calls everyone to come to his airboat and put an end to the fish once and for all. With the group on board, they set off in the airboat through the swamp, and at dawn, they stop near the boat where it all began. Nearby, they see a cave at sea level, which Jeff believes to be the Frankenfish's hideout. He intends to eliminate it, but first, he points a gun at Sam and orders him to go ahead to serve as bait. With no choice, he accepts, and the three follow the shallow stretch of the swamp until they enter the dark cave. Inside, they find the body of the second Frankenfish, who did not survive his injuries. However, Jeff reveals that he had ordered 3 Frankenfish, and he orders Joseph to take the body back to the boat while they search for the last one. Upon learning that there is still one more, Sam calls Jeff crazy and decides to leave, along with Eliza and Dan. Jeff then points his gun at him, but at that moment, they both see Joseph being pulled into the water. Finally, the third Frankenfish appears, and Sam runs as fast as he can to the airboat, with Eliza starting the engine to get away. Upon seeing the creature, Jeff realizes that it is the female of the species, even larger and more threatening than the others. He then tries to escape from the cave, but the monster he created jumps towards him, devouring him completely. The creature then advances toward the airboat, but Sam takes control and accelerates at full speed to escape the swamp. Despite this, the Frankenfish is faster and begins to crash into the airboat, the impact throwing Dan out. Eliza tries to save him, but Sam says they need to lure the creature away, or he will be devoured. The chase continues, and the Frankenfish collides with the airboat once again, damaging the protection around the engine. Despite this, Sam has an idea and tells Eliza to get ready, as they are both going to jump out of the boat at any moment. The young woman is confused, but he assures her that everything will be fine and leaves her in control of the boat. Sam then grabs a tool and uses it to break the engine's protective cover, leaving the turbine completely exposed. Finally, he tells Eliza to jump, and the two let the boat continue on its way, with the Frankenfish advancing in the same direction. Without the engine's protection, the fish charges full speed toward the turbine, which begins to destroy its body, scattering its pieces across the water. Finally, the threat from the swamp has been eliminated, and Eliza kisses Sam in gratitude for saving her life. Sam reciprocates, but the two still need to return, as Dan remains lost somewhere in the swamp. Nearby, the man recovers from his fall and tries to get out of the mud when he sees small fish gathering around him. At first, they seem harmless, but the guy soon realizes that they are identical to Frankenfish. Desperate, Dan tries to escape, but dozens of hatchlings begin to devour his body and spread throughout the swamp, which is now infested with sea monsters. Subscribe for more recap videos.